Welcome to part three of Abnormal Society. In part two, I mentioned I would share what America's trauma was, but first I actually need to explain what it means to be sociopathic. The word was coined by psychologist George Partrid in 1930, which translates into society or social sickness. He really wanted to emphasize that this was a dysfunction specific to social interaction, and that the person that actually suffers from it is the other, not the sociopath themselves. Modern psychology coins it as antisocial personality disorder or conduct disorder, but I feel like those terms take away from the core dysfunction because antisocial appears more individual, someone that doesn't want to socialize or may appear awkward, and that's far from the actual persona of a sociopath. I've said that not everyone has a disorder, but there is a tipping point of concern. Allow me to introduce American psychologist Theodore Millon. He was a major figure in the development of modern personality disorder theory. He understood, though, that personalities on a spectrum and that sociopathy comes in many forms and came up with actually 10 different subtypes later in his career. Millon also created this assessment test called the Milan Clinical Multitaxial Inventory 4, and this is the test that my ex actually took. And this assessment takes an inventory of all personality dysfunctional patterns like antisocial, turbulent, narcissistic, sadistic, etc., and breaks them down into 3 levels of severity, impact, and likeliness of change from a score between 0 to 115. Below 60 is considered situational, not really a pattern. Pretty normal. Now, 60 to 75 is the style. This is a mild form of a pattern triggered in certain situations, but is still considered flexible and change is very possible. They may even feel remorse or discomfort because of their behavior. 75 to 85 is a type where the behavior is consistent across different situations and interferes with life. It's a fixed way of being, most likely lacks remorse unless it's something they value enough, or they may still have some level of compassion. Change is harder, but still doable, and it usually requires consequence or a loss and a willingness to really want to work on it. 85 and over is a disorder where the behavior has become rigid and pervasive, and that person doesn't believe that there's anything wrong or they don't recognize the harm that they cause. Change is extremely difficult because their behavior feels justified, necessary, or even superior, and they are void of compassion, remorse, or empathy. Sociopathy is a learned adaptation from childhood trauma, especially in terms of abuse, where empathy became a liability. If showing or feeling empathy put them in some kind of harm's way, their brain adapted by disconnecting from it. And over time, that disconnection became the norm, not just a defense mechanism. The mind creates this internal safe zone where they rise above any sense of consequence or accountability, and control, detachment, even manipulation becomes the only way for them to feel secure. But how it plays out, especially in adults, is then categorized into these subtypes, which I will break down in the next video, so make sure you follow, because then I'm going to expand on each of these and how it all ties back to America today.